right now, like at this exact second, there is a creator out there reaching these highly engaged audiences in Singapore, South Africa, the Congo, and they're delivering these really complex insights in flawless, localized French. They're pitching a digital product, processing transactions. But the wild part is, here's the catch. That creator does not speak a single word of French.
Right. Not a word.
They haven't physically recorded a new video in like 3 weeks. And they are currently asleep.
It's crazy.
It is. So today we're doing a deep dive into how that gap, between playing around with ChatGPT to write a polite email and running a fully autonomous global internet business, it actually has nothing to do with being some kind of coding genius.
No, it really doesn't. Like, if you look at the architecture of what that creator is doing, it's not about raw intelligence, right? Or having access to some secret $1 million server farm. The tools they're using are largely accessible to anyone listening right now.
Anyone with a laptop.
Exactly. Yeah. The difference is entirely structural. It's about, understanding the specific level of the AI landscape you're operating on. And realizing that most of us are using these hyper-advanced systems to do the digital equivalent of hammering a nail with a microscope.
Yeah, which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive. If you're listening to this, you already know the space. You've seen the endless flood of posts on your feed promising that some new software update is going to, make you a millionaire by Tuesday.
Oh, it's exhausting.
It is so exhausting. So our mission today is to cut through that noise by synthesizing 3 really distinct, powerful perspectives from our sources. We're going to look at the foundational strategy of an internet business model from an 18-year industry veteran.
Yep.
Then we're examining the bleeding-edge execution of cinematic AI avatars. So how to physically remove yourself from the content bottleneck.
Right.
And finally, we're going to walk through a very concrete diagnostic roadmap detailing the 7 levels of AI mastery.
And that roadmap is so critical because right now, people are feeling this intense anxiety about obsolescence.
Oh, for sure.
They feel like if they don't learn the newest prompting framework that got released yesterday, they're just falling behind. But when you piece these 3 sources together, you realize that all those shiny new tools, they're completely irrelevant if you don't have a systemic container to put them in.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to start right there with the container. Our first source comes from Darcy Ogandaga, who is a veteran internet business coach. He has been operating online for 18 years.
18 years in internet time is like a century.
Basically a dinosaur, yeah. He's been navigating Facebook algorithms since 2008. He watched the rise and fall of chronological feeds, the pivot to video, the pivot back to text, the explosion of short form. He's seen it all.
Yeah.
And his core message is a pretty massive reality check. He says most people are approaching AI completely backward.
It is a harsh reality check.
Yeah.
Because he observes that people are just obsessed with the output mechanism before they even have an economic engine.
Right.
Like, they want an AI tool to write a 300-page book in an hour. Or they want a tool to generate a fully functioning website in 10 minutes. Or spin up a perfect webinar script.
Yeah, give me the hack.
Exactly. But they are entirely skipping what he calls the foundational internet business model.
And his argument, which honestly feels a bit like a gut punch, is that AI multiplied by 0 equals 0.
It's precisely the math we need to look at. AI is a multiplier, right? It's not an originator of fundamental business strategy. Think about the mechanics of a business. You need a mechanism for generating attention, a mechanism for capturing leads, and then a mechanism for converting those leads into revenue.
Standard business stuff.
Right. But if your conversion mechanism is mathematically 0, meaning you literally have no proven way to turn a stranger's attention into a transaction, then taking an AI agent and multiplying your content output by 10,000 is just going to give you 10,000 times 0.
Wow.
You're just generating noise faster and more efficiently than ever before.
Yeah, we assume everyone listening knows why an email list is valuable. The classic owned audience model isn't exactly new. But Darcy points out something crucial about the execution in this AI era. He warns really heavily against the rented space trap.
Yeah, the rented space.
He lists out, your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, LinkedIn. They are not your business. They are rented space. But let me push back on that for a second.
Oh, ahead.
Because there are entire digital ad agencies and multi-million-dollar creator empires built entirely on reverse engineering virality on those specific platforms. So if it's just rented space, why is there an entire economy dedicated to going viral there?
It's a fair pushback, But I think we have to separate the lottery winners from the casino owners here.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yes, agencies optimize for retention metrics and hook rates to achieve virality. But Darcy's point is about the predictability of customer acquisition cost, CAC. When you rely on organic virality on rented land, your CAC is incredibly volatile.
Because you don't control the rules.
Yep. Exactly. One week, the algorithm favors your format. The next week, the platform updates its underlying code to prioritize some different media type to appease its shareholders. And suddenly your reach drops by 90%.
Right, the algorithm rug pull.
Yeah. You cannot underwrite a stable business model on the hope that a black box algorithm is going to smile at your content. You're building a skyscraper on a tectonic fault line.
So the real objective is extraction.
Complete extraction. He emphasizes the absolute necessity of a virtual headquarters.
And that's just a website, right?
It's a specific self-hosted destination, your actual website, where you capture first-party data. Because if you do not have that data securely in your own database, like emails, names, locations, you do not have leverage. You don't actually have a business.
And here is where the mechanics of that extraction get really interesting to me, especially when we talk about how these social platforms fight back. Darcy talks about his strategy for giving away a free ebook to capture those leads. He posts a visual, writes a description, but he purposefully does not put the link to the ebook in the main post.
Nope. He hides the link in the comments. Now, I've seen creators do this, but can you break down the actual mechanism behind why this is necessary? Before we even get to the AI automation part?
Well, it all comes down to the fundamental economic incentive of the platform. A social media network's valuation is primarily based on daily active users and time on site.
Keep people scrolling.
Right. Their entire advertising revenue model depends on keeping a human pair of eyes inside their ecosystem for as long as mathematically possible. So when you place a hyperlink in your main post that directs a user to your external virtual headquarters, you are directly attacking the platform's core metric.
You're a leak in their pipeline.
Exactly. You are a leak.
So the algorithm is literally designed to detect that link and suppress the post.
Yes. Darcy notes that putting a link in the main post kills your reach by roughly 20% immediately.
The system just programmatically throttles the distribution. So the human strategy, bypassing that penalty by placing the extraction link in the comments, where the parser might not penalize the parent post as heavily, that is the prerequisite, you have to understand the physics of the environment before you build the AI machine.
Okay, so the foundation is built. We understand the suppression mechanics. We've got our virtual headquarters. Now, how does the AI multiplier actually kick in for him? Because reading through his workflow, it is relentless.
Relentless is the word.
Yeah.
He operates this cascading robot workflow. Let's trace the data flow of just a single piece of content.
Okay.
He starts by creating one 3-minute video. He uploads it to his personal Facebook page, then to his Instagram, which, shares a back-end infrastructure, then to his professional page, then to LinkedIn. That is 4 manual touch points.
But then he hands it off to his automations, right?
Exactly. He uses API connectors to automatically pull that video from those initial uploads and push it natively to YouTube, making it 5 places. Another automation pushes it to TikTok. That's 6 platforms from a single 3-minute recording session.
And that's just the video architecture. But where his system truly scales is the audio. He talks about going live.
Right, the live broadcast.
He uses cloud-based broadcasting software to push a live feed simultaneously to 2 Facebook pages, LinkedIn and YouTube. But the live video is just the raw material. He actually calls the audio the real engine.
And this is the part that shows what a multiplier really means. He rips the audio from that live stream, and an automated system pushes it out as a podcast to 21 different destinations.
21.
Apple, Spotify, Amazon, everywhere, with 0 additional recording time.
But let's go back to the hook of our deep dive, the geographical scaling, the translation multiplier. Explain how he's hitting markets in Singapore and the Congo without speaking the language.
Oh, this is fascinating. He feeds that ripped audio into an AI translation model. But it's really important to understand the mechanics here, because this isn't like the old Google Translate spitting out a robotic text-to-speech file.
Right, not the old robot voice.
No, these modern models use voice cloning and phone matching. The AI analyzes the timbre, the cadence, and the unique spectral frequency of Darcy's actual voice. It translates the transcript into French, and then generates a new audio file where the French words are spoken using the exact acoustic properties of Darcy's English voice.
That is wild. It preserves the emotion and the brand identity perfectly.
It creates a localized remix,
Yeah.
pitches his French ebook, and pushes it out. And the math on this, when you look at it, is staggering.
Do the math for
He
me.
posts 3 times a week. That's the core input. But because of this cascading architecture, the 6 video platforms, the multi-stream live feeds, the 21 podcast destinations, the translated geographic models, he's generating over 160 distinct pieces of content every single month. 160 touch points, running 247, all designed with one singular objective: capturing leads and routing them back to his virtual headquarters.
So when you have an automated system generating that volume of top-of-funnel awareness, and you're capturing the data on the back end, you don't need an anomalous viral hit.
No, you don't. You have a highly predictable, mathematically sound internet business.
But, and I know if you're listening to this, you might be identifying the massive friction point here.
Right, yeah.
Because the math makes sense, the architecture makes sense, but let's be realistic about the human toll. Even if the distribution is automated, generating the core content to fuel a 160 post-a-month machine requires a human being to sit in front of a camera 3 times a week.
Right.
It requires lighting setups, makeup, multiple takes, energy, editing. If you or I tried to maintain that indefinitely, we wouldn't just burn out. Our quality would completely degrade.
Absolutely.
The system breaks when it hits the physical limits of the human body.
Which is the perfect transition to the necessary evolution of this model. Because if Section 1 is about building the economic engine, Section 2 is about removing the ultimate biological bottleneck.
Your physical presence.
Yes.
And this brings us to our second source, looking at the work of creator Nikki Saunders. She introduces us to a technology developed by Hagen, specifically their Seedance 2.0 update. Now, for the listener, I think we need to clarify what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we should define it.
Because when most people hear AI avatar, they picture those stiff, uncanny valley talking heads from 2 years ago. You know, the ones where it's clearly a statty photograph and only the lips are moving, slightly out of sync.
Yeah, that era of technology was essentially advanced puppetry. What Nikki is utilizing is an entirely different computational paradigm. Hagen's Avatar 5 creates what we call a cinematic digital twin.
Cinematic is definitely the defining word here, because Nikki shows an example she built, and her reaction is visceral. She's yelling like, I can't believe I made this. Her digital twin isn't sitting statically at a desk staring dead-eyed into a webcam.
Not at all.
The avatar is in a complex spatial environment. She is standing on a stage, literally getting chased by police officers.
Right.
There are dynamic camera panning movements tracking her across the scene. There are environmental sound effects. There's a music score. And she did not film a single frame of this physically.
To really understand how profound this is, we have to look at the rendering mechanics. A cinematic twin like this isn't just a face mapping. It requires the AI to understand human microexpressions, skeletal kinetics, spatial lighting. The workflow fundamentally detaches the creator's physical body from the ongoing creation process.
Which is the dream.
It is.
Right?
You sit down in front of a high-quality camera one time, you record a training data set, so speaking, gesturing, looking in different directions. The neural network processes that data, learning the specific geometric topology of your face and the unique ways your muscles move when you speak.
And then it's just done.
Once that model is trained, it becomes a permanent deployable asset.
It is the equivalent of having a Hollywood backlot, a union camera crew, a lighting director, and a stunt double, all compressed into an application living on your laptop. You never have to wait for golden hour lighting again. You don't have to rent a studio.
Exactly. And the specific mechanism inside Hagen that makes this environment generation possible is called avatar shots.
Okay, avatar shots.
It allows a creator to use a single text prompt to generate anywhere from 4 to 15 seconds of high-fidelity cinematic video featuring their digital twin interacting with a virtual environment.
And this is but let's address the reality of generating those environments. Writing the prompts to achieve cinematic quality can be incredibly intimidating.
Oh, it's basically a new language.
Literally. I look at these professional AI video prompting guides, and it reads like the manual for a Boeing 747. It's not just make a video of me. It's like, adjust the focal length to 35 millimeters, set the dynamic lighting to volumetric, apply a subtle tracking pan from left to right, ensure shallow depth of field. If you don't have a background in cinematography, you are going to get terrible results.
It's a massive barrier to entry. But Nikki shares a workflow hack that is nothing short of brilliant because it uses AI to bridge the knowledge gap of using another AI.
Oh, I love this hack.
Right. Instead of trying to memorize Hagen's complex Seedance 2.0 technical documentation, she just takes the URL of that exact guide and feeds it directly into a large language model like ChatGPT.
This is such an elegant solution. Break down the translation happening there for the listener.
She is essentially uploading the rulebook. So once ChatGPT processes all the technical parameters required by Hagen's generation engine, Nikki simply types her creative vision in plain conversational English. She just says, "I want a scene of me on a stage being chased by cops."
Just a normal sentence.
Just a normal sentence. And ChatGPT, armed with the context of the Hagen documentation, acts as the translator. It instantly synthesizes that basic idea into a highly technical, shot-by-shot prompt, correctly formatting the camera angles, the lighting instructions, and the motion parameters required by the video model.
It translates human imagination into machine-readable parameters.
Exactly.
And the efficiency gain is undeniable. She noted that using this translation method, it only took her 2 renders to get the exact, flawless cinematic shot she visualized. She didn't spend 4 hours tweaking focal lengths. 2 attempts, and she had broadcast quality footage.
It is a perfect demonstration of tool synergy, using a text-based reasoning model to perfectly format the input constraints for a diffusion-based video model.
But look, we cannot talk about perfectly replicating human faces, cloning voices, and placing them in fabricated environments without addressing the massive glaring elephant in the room.
Safety stuff.
Yeah. We see the headlines every day about celebrity deepfakes, financial scams using cloned audio, non-consensual image generation. If a listener is thinking about building their brand on this, they have to wonder, is an enterprise tool like this actually safe? Or are they contributing to an ecosystem of identity theft?
It's a critical concern, and Nikki addresses it head-on. We really have to draw a hard line between open-source models that are designed with zero guardrails and enterprise-grade platforms designed for legitimate commercial creators.
Right.
A platform like Hagen operates on a strict, biometrically verified system. You cannot simply scrape a photo of Tom Cruise or your CEO or your ex, upload it, and make them say whatever you want.
You can only synthesize yourself.
Exactly. The system requires active synchronous verification to prove that the person in the training footage is the person actually operating the account. Your likeness is cryptographically protected. It's a closed, secure ecosystem, not an open sandbox for deepfakes.
And Nikki provided a really fascinating personal anecdote that proves how deeply these safety guardrails are hard-coded into the platform.
Oh, the background image story.
Yes, she tried to upload a reference image to use as the backdrop for her avatar's video. But that specific image happened to contain a poster of the late rapper Nipsey Hussle in the background.
And the system completely rejected the render. It flagged an immediate error stating, "Reference images must not contain human faces."
Wow.
The computer vision algorithm scanned the environment, detected the geometric patterns of a human face on that poster, and instantly triggered a safety protocol.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's a poster or a real person. If it detects an unauthorized face, it shuts down the process entirely.
So, connecting this back to Darcy's business model from the first section, the ultimate takeaway here is leverage. By utilizing verified cinematic twin technology, you completely shatter the physical bottleneck of content creation. You can feed your 160 post-a-month machine localized into different languages, placed in dynamic, attention-grabbing environments without physically exhausting yourself.
And crucially, you aren't sacrificing your hard-earned brand equity to generic, faceless AI slop.
Right. You are still front and center. You're building parasocial trust with your audience, even if you are literally asleep while the video is being rendered, captioned, and posted.
But having the strategy and having the avatar, that's only 2/3 of the equation.
Exactly. We have the business engine, we have the physical cloning. But if you're a listener sitting at your desk right now, how do you actually master the day-to-day execution of these tools? How do you move from being someone who asks ChatGPT to rewrite an email once a week to someone who is architecting this kind of autonomous ecosystem?
This is where our third source becomes invaluable. Futurepedia published a diagnostic roadmap, the 7 levels of AI mastery.
Okay.
And this isn't just a list of tools, it's a psychological and operational progression. It helps you identify exactly where you are currently bottlenecked and what precise mechanical shift you need to make to reach the next tier of leverage.
Let's walk through these levels in detail because I guarantee every single person listening will recognize themselves in one of these stages. Let's start with level 1, which is titled the fancy search engine. I would argue 95% of the professional world is stuck right here.
Definitely.
You have a free OpenAI account, and you treat it exactly like Google. You ask it for a recipe, you ask it to summarize a PDF, or you ask it to draft a polite decline to a meeting invitation.
It's the most rudimentary interaction. And the source notes a crucial psychological marker of level 1. At this stage, AI does not feel like a superpower. It just feels like a minor convenience.
Yeah.
You're staring at a blank text box, inputting a generic command, and getting a generic, slightly robotic output. You are not utilizing the reasoning capabilities of the model. You're just querying its training data.
Which brings us to level 2, the prompt engineer. This is the paradigm shift. This is the moment you realize that the specific syntax and structure of your request completely dictates the quality of the output. The model isn't generic, your instructions are.
Moving to level 2 requires adopting a structural framework. And the most universally effective framework relies on 4 pillars: instruction, context, constraints, and examples. All right, at level 1, you type, write a blog post about real estate. The output is useless fluff. At level 2, you engineer the prompt. You write a 500-word blog post. That's the instruction. Quote, for first-time homebuyers in Austin, Texas who are anxious about interest rates. It's context. Do not use any complex financial jargon, and do not use bullet points, constraints. Here's a paragraph of my past writing. Match this casual, empathetic tone perfectly. Examples.
That 4-pillar structure alone is the difference between a useless draft and a publishable piece. But there is a hack here that completely changes the game. If you're a listener struggling to figure out what context the AI actually needs, let's say you're that real estate agent, and you don't know what details will make the post pop, you can just ask the AI to interview you. You type, I want to write a blog post for first-time buyers in Austin. Before you write a single word, ask me the 5 most important questions you need answered to make this the most effective post possible.
It's a brilliant inversion of the dynamic. You're acknowledging that the neural network understands its own latent space better than you do. It knows what variables will trigger the highest quality semantic connections. And there's another indispensable shortcut at level 2, specifically regarding the frustration of iteration.
Oh, the back and forth.
Yes. Often you'll spend 20 minutes going back and forth with the AI, make it punchier, less aggressive, add a stat about property taxes.
It's exhausting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you finally achieve the perfect output, don't just copy the text and close the window. You ask the model to reverse engineer the journey. You instruct it. Analyze the final result we just achieved. Now rate the single master prompt I could have used at the very beginning of this conversation to generate this exact output on the first try.
I love that. And then you save that master prompt to a document. You never have to do the 20-minute dance again. But here is where we hit the ceiling of level 2. Even if you have 50 beautifully engineered master prompts saved in a Word doc, starting a new chat every single time, pasting in the prompt, pasting in your brand voice guidelines, pasting in your company history, the friction becomes unbearable.
That physical friction is the catalyst for moving to level 3, projects and baked-in context. This is where AI transitions from an external tool into an integrated daily environment.
Right, so if you're using Claude or the premium version of ChatGPT, you have access to dedicated workspaces. Claude calls them projects. Let's say I run a boutique consulting firm. I don't just use a general chat. I build a Q3 marketing project.
And the power of that project lies in the concept of baked-in context, which utilizes a technology called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. When you set up this workspace, you upload your standard operating procedures, your brand voice documents, your ideal customer profiles, and like the last 6 months of your successful marketing emails.
So it knows everything.
Exactly. The system vectorizes all of those documents. It turns your entire business history into a mathematical knowledge base.
So when I open that specific project on a Tuesday morning and say, draft an email for our new webinar, I don't have to explain who we are, who we sell to, or what tone to use.
Nope.
The AI is already completely briefed. It automatically pulls the relevant context from the uploaded documents and generates a draft that sounds exactly like my brand.
And at level 3, you also develop a discerning palette for different foundational models. You realize that treating AI as a monolith is a mistake. You start routing specific tasks to the architectures best suited for them.
Like what?
Well, you might recognize that Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet is vastly superior for nuanced copywriting and coding. But Google's Gemini is better connected to live web data, and OpenAI's models are exceptional at structured data analysis.
You basically become a manager of models. But to break the threshold into level 4, and here's where it gets really interesting, you have to leave the comfort zone of text-based chatbots entirely. This is where the landscape gets incredibly exciting.
Level 4 is defined as the AI ecosystem and agnostic tools. The realization here is that using a large language model to solve every digital problem is like using a Swiss Army knife to construct a suspension bridge.
It's possible, but awful.
Exactly. It has the tools, but it's deeply inefficient. Level 4 is about adopting purpose-built, specialized AI applications.
A perfect example from the source is Google's Notebook LM, because if you're a researcher, a lawyer, or a student, and you have 50 dense 100-page PDF documents, you do not try to paste them into ChatGPT. You upload them into Notebook LM. And we need to explain how this actually works, because it's not just using a search function to find keywords in your PDF.
No, it is building a localized knowledge graph.
Yeah.
When you upload those 50 PDFs, the AI reads them and maps the semantic relationships between every single concept across all the documents.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
It means it plots a mathematical link between a statistical footnote on page 4 of document A and an offhand quote on page 87 of document F. So when you ask a complex synthesis question, it navigates that graph to generate an original insight that does not explicitly exist in any single document, complete with citations linking back to the source text.
It is breathtaking. Another level 4 tool they highlight is Granola, which transforms meeting culture. Instead of frantically typing notes while a client is talking, which totally ruins your ability to be present and read the room, the tool just runs in the background.
Yeah, Granola is amazing.
It uses advanced speaker diarization to separate your voice from the client's voice, transcribes the audio with perfect accuracy, and then synthesizes the transcript into structured action items, decisions made, and follow-up emails.
But the most disruptive paradigm introduced at level 4 is a concept called vibe coding.
Vibe coding. I love this term. For the listener who has never written a line of HTML or Python in their life, what does this actually look like in practice?
It utilizes integrated coding environments like Canvas in OpenAI or artifacts within Claude. Historically, if you wanted a custom software tool, say a specific interactive dashboard to calculate the ROI of your consulting services based on 3 different dynamic variables, you had to hire a developer, write a spec sheet, and wait 3 weeks.
With vibe coding, you just describe what you want in plain English.
Exactly. You type, build me an interactive ROI calculator with sliders for monthly traffic, conversion rate, and average order value. Make it look sleek and modern. The AI doesn't just give you a block of code to copy and paste. It writes the React components, renders the user interface, and displays a fully functional interactive application right there in a window next to your chat.
And if you don't like how it looks, you don't have to debug the code. You just type, change the background to dark mode and make the calculate button neon green. The AI rewrites the code, and the interface updates instantly in front of your eyes. It completely democratizes software creation.
And as you get comfortable with vibe coding, you start encountering the bleeding edge of level 4, early agentic workflows. Tools like Manus, where you get your first taste of autonomous execution.
Let's define agentic for the listener, because we've talked about prompting, where it's a constant ping-pong match. I ask, you answer. What changes with an agent?
With an agent, you stop providing step-by-step instructions and start providing overarching goals. You hand the AI an objective. The agent contains an internal reasoning loop. It independently breaks that massive goal down into a multi-step plan, determines which external tools it needs to achieve each step, executes the tasks, reviews its own work, corrects errors, and only returns to you when the final goal is accomplished.
You take your hands completely off the steering wheel.
Yes.
Which requires a massive mental shift. You are no longer an operator, you are an orchestrator. And that mindset shift is the exact entry point to level 5. Automation's running without you.
At level 5, you fundamentally change the question you ask yourself every day. You stop asking, how do I use AI to do this manual task faster? And you start asking, how do I engineer a background system that performs this task permanently so I never have to look at it again?
Wait, you are building the automated robots that Darcy was talking about in his business model back in section 1?
Exactly. You're moving into the infrastructure layer. You start using platforms equipped with webhooks and API connections, like Zapier's new AI Copilot, or platforms like Lovable and Google AI Studio.
Give me a concrete example of a level 5 workflow. Let's go back to Darcy's virtual headquarters.
Perfect. Imagine a potential client lands on your website and fills out a contact form. In a level 2 world, you get an email notification. You manually copy their name into your CRM. You Google their company to see what they do. And you spend 20 minutes writing a custom email referencing their recent company news.
Right. Very manual.
In a level 5 world, the moment they hit submit, a webhook triggers a Zapier automation. The automation sends the data to a database. It simultaneously triggers an AI agent to scrape the web for the prospect's LinkedIn profile and their company's recent press releases.
So the agent synthesizes all that research in the background.
Yes. It synthesizes the research, sends the data to Claude to draft a highly personalized, contextually brilliant welcome email, queues that email in your outbox as a draft, and pings your Slack with a summary of the prospect's company size and pain points.
Yeah.
All of this happens in the 4 seconds it takes the prospect to load your thank you page.
Wow.
It runs continuously, 247 without a single human touch.
That's the definition of leverage. But level 6 is where the source takes us into territory that honestly sounds like science fiction. Level 6 is system building and agentic workflows. This isn't just triggering an email draft. This is orchestrating highly complex, multi-agent software environments.
At level 6, you're operating as a senior software architect, and the AI models are your engineering team. The source points to tools like Claude Code's planning mode. We aren't just vibe coding a simple single-page ROI calculator anymore. We were talking about commanding the AI to build full-scale, AI-powered web applications, custom Chrome extensions, or massive internal company dashboards feature by feature, manipulating complex code bases across multiple files simultaneously.
And the frameworks required to manage this are wild. The source explicitly mentions NAD. This is where we cross into the realm of agents managing other agents.
It is the automation of management itself. Think of level 6 like the kitchen of a Michelin star restaurant. You are the executive chef. You do not chop the onions. You shout, "We need a beef Wellington for table 4." In a NAD framework, an overarching manager agent receives your request. It independently routes a subtask to a prep cook agent to locate the ingredients in the database. It routes another subtask to an assembly agent to write the code. The manager agent oversees the process, reviews the code for errors, sends it back to the assembly agent if it fails a test, and finally presents you with the completed application.
You just asked for the dish, the AI delegated the labor, but then the source brought up OpenClaw, and I have to be honest, this part gave me a genuine spike of anxiety.
It should. OpenClaw represents the extreme frontier of level 6, and it fundamentally alters the risk profile of everything we've discussed. OpenClaw is an open-source personal AI agent, but unlike ChatGPT, it does not live isolated in a browser tab.
Right.
It runs locally, persistently, directly on your machine, perhaps a dedicated Mac Mini sitting in a closet, or a virtual private server.
So it's a persistent digital entity.
Yes. And it utilizes the computer use API. It can physically parse the document object model of a website, meaning it can literally see buttons, text fields, and drop-downs on your screen, and it can move a virtual mouse to click them. You give it access to your web browser, your email client, your calendar. It remembers context across days and weeks. It operates continuously in the background, and you communicate with it exactly like you would a human assistant via messaging apps like WhatsApp or Telegram.
So the example they give is crazy. You are at the airport and you text OpenClaw on WhatsApp, "Book me a direct flight to Chicago for next Tuesday morning." The agent reads the text, independently opens a browser window on the Mac Mini in your closet, navigates to Delta's website, enters the dates, selects the flight, and clicks purchase. But wait, to click purchase, it needs to enter payment information? People are handing over live credit cards to autonomous AI agents.
They are. And this is where we must issue a massive, unequivocal warning. The expert in our source was intensely upfront about this reality. OpenClaw is highly technical, and it carries serious, tangible, potentially devastating security risks. We're talking about granting an autonomous agent, running on open source code, unrestricted access to the live internet, and your financial credentials.
If that model suffers a hallucination, or if it scrapes a website containing a malicious prompt injection attack,
it could be disastrous. It could misinterpret an instruction and buy 10 first-class flights to Chicago. It could accidentally delete a crucial database while trying to organize your files. It requires extreme caution, a robust understanding of local security environments, and strict, hard-coded guardrails. It is absolutely not for beginners. You do not hand your corporate Amex to a script you downloaded from GitHub unless you are a true level 6 master who understands the code executing in the background.
Okay, consider the warning delivered. Proceed with extreme caution. But if delegating your credit card to an autonomous sous chef agent is level 6, what on earth could level 7 possibly be?
Level 7 is titled The Aspirational Unicorn. It is a predictive state. The roadmap acknowledges that nobody is truly operating fully at this level yet, but it is the inevitable mathematical destination of compounding all the technologies we've just discussed. It's the concept of a true solo unicorn, a one-person billion-dollar company.
One single human founder, no employees.
One founder, sitting at the center of a web of automation. Their entire company consists of a massive, perfectly orchestrated workforce of specialized AI agents. You have autonomous agents dynamically adjusting ad spend across platforms. You have cinematic digital twins endlessly generating personalized, localized marketing content. You have sales agents negotiating via email, product development agents writing and deploying code updates, and customer service agents resolving tickets flawlessly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in every language on Earth.
Okay, let's take a breath and synthesize all of this, because the ground we just covered is staggering. If we step back and connect the dots between our three sources, the journey to becoming that level 7 solo unicorn, or even just using these tools to build a highly profitable, sustainable lifestyle business that buys back your time, it does not start with trying to vibe code an app or downloading dangerous open source agents.
No, it starts with immense discipline. It starts with the unglamorous foundational internet business model we analyzed in Section 1. You must have a strategy. You must own your audience. You must have a virtual headquarter and a mathematically sound system for capturing leads and driving conversions. Without that economic engine, you're multiplying the row.
But once that foundation is solid, you scale your output using the cinematic tools from Section 2. You deploy tools like HeyGen to create your digital twin, shattering the physical limitations of the human body. You let the avatar do the heavy lifting of generating hundreds of localized touch points without ever burning out.
And you orchestrate this entire symphony by consciously, methodically climbing the ladder from Section 3. You recognize where you are stuck, whether it's prompting from scratch every day at level 2 or doing manual data entry at level 4, and you build the automated bridge to the next level of leverage. It is a deliberate progression from operator to architect.
If you are listening to this right now and you realize you are stuck, if you want to actually start executing on this, if you want to stop posting and hoping on rented space and actually build that foundational automated system we talked about at the very beginning, we have exactly what you need to do next. We want to bring the conclusion for people to go get Coach Darcy Ogandaga's free book. It has all the tools and equipment that you need to make this transition happen. Go immediately to reformationleadership.com/best-free-II-tools. I'm going to say that one more time so you can type it in right now. It is reformationleadership.com/best-free-AI-tools. Get the foundation right before you worry about the robots.
Because the foundation is the only thing that will anchor you in reality as the velocity of this technology accelerates. Which leaves us with a deeply fascinating, almost philosophical question to ponder as we look at the trajectory of these tools. We are rapidly moving toward a world where eventually everyone will have access to this leverage. Everyone will have a flawless cinematic digital twin that never stutters, never looks tired, and speaks 30 languages. Everyone will have a perfectly automated, mathematically optimized sales funnel. Everyone will have an army of AI agents running their operations without error. 247.
The playing field will be completely leveled by perfect infinite automation.
Exactly. So once we all reach level 7, once perfection, hyper-efficiency, and infinite scale are cheap, democratized, and accessible to everyone on Earth, would become the ultimate scarce resource. Is it possible that in a perfectly automated, flawless digital landscape, the only thing that cannot be mass-produced, raw, unedited, spontaneous, vulnerable human imperfection will actually become the most valuable and highly sought-after commodity of all?
Something to think about. Until next time.